Everybody, stop using your hands in the golf swing. It is costing you shots and stopping you lowering your handicap. Hi everyone, my name is James Robinson. Welcome back to Get Good at Golf. In today's video, we're going to talk about why when you use your hands, you struggle to hit golf shots like that one. I want to hit nice, high towering iron shots, hopefully that finish, well, near the flag or on the green. I'll take on the green from 154 yards. So the reason for that is when people use their hands in the golf swing, generally the club face gets too active. And by too active, I mean there's too much rotation in that swing. So this can lead to quite a few different faults. It can lead to quite a few different directions. And it can also lead to some pretty horrible golf shots. So in order to stop this, you need to understand what happens when you do use your hands too much in the golf swing. You see, generally what I see when this happens is this kind of motion. So the club face is going to turn over too much. If we have a look at the replay in the swing in just a moment's time, you'll see there's no real weight transfer. The club face is just turning over way too much. And if we then go in to have a look at the actual sensors on the GolfSense system, you'll see there is a lot of club head rotation, and then I really struggle to strike the ball out the middle. You can see that one's come massively out of the toe. So how do I stop this? How do I get to a point where I can just make sure I strike the ball nicely with a nice square club face? So we're going to talk irons, Chris is going to talk some wedges, then we might even delve into the top end of the bag at the end of this video. So generally what I want to do is make sure my takeaway isn't too handsy. And by that, I mean I'm not taking the club away with lots of rotation. You'll see how that can lead to the club face being wide open. I'm also going to make sure the club head, I'm also going to make sure the takeaway has a nice rotation in it. So I don't want to see this motion where the elbow flares out, where the club face is really closed. I want to make sure that I'm taking the club away with my upper body, with my sternum and with my shoulders. So when the club's at this point here where it's parallel to the ground, it's nice and square to my posture here. You see that leading edge is square to my spine angle. From there I can load up to the top of the backswing. Again, there's no real kind of hand movement here. Yes, I'm using the wrists to set the club, but I'm not using the hands to try and manipulate the club face at all. So once that's at the top of the backswing, I then start the downswing, so I move into my left side with a nice rotation of the body. Again, the hands aren't doing anything to manipulate the club. The hands are following the upper body, so that kinematic sequence is starting from the ground and then working its way towards the club head. So as I rotate, guess where that club face is in the delivery position? It's exactly the same as where it was on the way back. It's level with that spine angle. From there, I can rotate my upper body even more. You'll see my left hip just moving out here, so my left bum cheek is working backwards, and from there I've got the handle forward at impact. That is imperative to make sure you can hit your best shots, because with the forward handle you'll see I've got less dynamic loft. You'll see that club is working behind the hands, so again it's in control of at all times. The last thing I want to do is see the club head overtake the hands, because that is where you see again, shots like that, that's just a lazy golf shot. It's something which you're really going to struggle to play consistent golf with. And a lot of people think, but James, if I don't do that, if I don't release the club, then I'm always going to just kind of shove it out to the right there. Yes, that's not the shot we want. We don't want to hit it into the rockery, but we want to make sure that we are hitting nice, consistent shots. Consistency is the name of the game, not just for accuracy, not just for keeping the ball in play, but to make sure you know this 8-iron goes 155 yards in the air, which is exactly what I like to think my 8-iron does. So if I put all those moves together, you'll see that I can hit a nice, solid stroke 8-iron. It might have a bit of fade on it because that is the distance I want to hit. This should go around 155 in the air. Ooh, 156.8 in the air. So for me, that's a really good solid way of making sure I can be consistent by not using my hands in the golf swing, but using the upper body to release that club in transition by a good sequence. Now, Chris is going to talk about how this can massively affect short game. Then we're going to look at big dog, because that can really go wrong.
So, short game is one big thing I see people struggle with when they're thinking about how do I release the golf club. Everybody said you need to get your hands involved, you need to make sure you're releasing it, you're getting plenty of loft on there. And all we see is very similar. We start to see the body stop working. So we get everything back. Right, I've got to hinge it on the way back. And when I've hinged it, I've got to release that. I've got to get that loft down there, because otherwise I can't get over this in front of me. So I'll do that now. All right, that's a great shot up and out. I'm 20 yards short. Or the case is then, if we match that in, yes, that popped up for me. It hasn't reached the distance that I want. We then start to see that some people, right, okay, yeah, that didn't get there, so let me give it a little bit more. And we start to hang back. We're finishing this position, the club is working up, we hit the leading edge, and you see by this video, this is what we see a lot in lessons. We see people hanging back. I've got to get the ball in the air. I've got to do it. So if I lean back, use my hands, I've got all the combinations of things that are going to help me. It's the opposite. And if you're somebody in the bunker, you can really see in a bunker. So if you are in the sand and you're practicing, draw a line behind. Start to see where you're entering the sand. Because if you're entering 6 inches before the ball and the ball's barely getting out, that is why we're releasing the club a little bit too early and we're falling back. So we want to make sure we work a lot better with a turning body. So in short game, the biggest thing that's missed is that this chest and club have got to work together. So just like your full swing on the way back, we want to see that that is matching your spine angle. So from there, as long as we're playing just a normal trajectory shot, that's how it should match. But then on the way through, we should start to see if that club head is just released naturally with a turning body. This should be straight out in front of me and the loft of the club should be pointing straight back towards me. It shouldn't be here, which is what we see a lot. We'll see people in here, right? Look at that club face. Look how low that came out. This is James's favourite golf club. I'm hoping I've said it.
56, mate, this one.
Oh, nightmare. It's not James's favourite golf club, but you see how low that came out for a 56. You'll see now, with the trajectories on the screen, if I now hit a normal shot where I start to think, right, okay, matching my spine angle on the way back and showing the loft to my face on the way through, we'll start to see how that will give us a totally different ball flight. Club face is pointing to me, still a little bit short, but look how that's gone with a turning body. So we're making sure this body gets through to my target, and then once we're comfortable with that, we can get our 54-yard distance, give that a little bit more, and start to see if we can get that club working pin high. Landed at 56 yards, ran out to 62, but in short game, we have to make sure this body works with the club to get you the flight that you want, the spin you want, and the control you want, so you can start to hit it a lot closer and get out of there with no damage, but we also need to think about how we get off that tee.
So guys, we need to make sure here that if you are using your hands with driver, the ball position is in the right place. So often I see people with the ball positions in the middle of the stands here, and they're straight away thinking, you know what, I can rescue this, I need to get the hands working. I've managed to kind of square that ball up. It's not gone very far in the air, but look at this for a finishing position. Not really what you want. And again, if we look at that replay, just not a very active, athletic, or good golf swing. So the ball needs to be forward. Now, the hands are going to rotate a little bit with driver because we're trying to get that toe just turning over ever so slightly because we've got quite a long shaft length. But the last thing I'm going to do is really get those hands working over massively, because you'll see we struggle to deliver loft to the ball. And I see this so often when coaching people or when playing with people in pro-ams. Look how handsy that is. Now, if you look at that body movement, you think, oh, you know what, James, that was an okay body movement. You got your weight transfer through, it was fine. But we need to make sure that the hands are still at the end of the kinematic sequence. So we're working from the ground up, and the hands are the second last thing to move before the club head. So the hands are responsible for releasing the club, but they're not responsible for creating the power or the speed. All your bigger muscles are responsible for that, your sequence is responsible for that, and your body rotation is responsible for that. So if I want to hit a nice big high drive, you can see there that everything in my body is moving through. It's not just the hands that are going to manipulate the club and try and release the driver overly, because that's where you're going to really struggle with consistency. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember, stop using your hands so much in the golf swing, use your body instead, and that should help you get good at golf.